Hello, today we're doing Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. Once upon a time, in a Persian city, there lived two brothers who loved each other very much, and they often visited each other. One was a merchant called Qasim, and the other was a woodcutter called Ali Baba. On his way to the forest with his 3 donkeys, Ali Baba saw a cloud of dust in the distance. It was undoubtedly a large and possibly unfriendly group of horsemen, because very few people passed along this road. Since he was afraid of being robbed, Ali Baba looked for a hiding place. See? Not far away was a very high rock, next to which stood a tall tree. Ali Baba hid his donkeys, climbed into the tree, and waited. The cloud of dust quickly became bigger, and soon the group arrived. There were 40 men, each carrying a big bag on his shoulders. The men jumped down from their horses, tied them to the next to the rock. Then the leader approached the rock and cried, "Open sesame!" To Ali Baba's astonishment, a door opened in the rock face. The men disappeared into the cave, and the door closed behind them. Ali Baba stayed in his tree, not daring to climb down right away. While he was thinking what to do next, the door opened again. The men came out, and the leader commanded, "Close, sesame!" It rumbled shut. Then the men mounted their horses again and rode off. When they were far away, Ali Baba climbed down from the tree, stood in front of the rock, and, after hesitating for a time, he also cried, "Open the sesame!" Once again, the rock opened, and Ali Baba, here's some more pictures. And Ali Baba walked into a most amazing cave. There was enough light inside to see a collection of fabulous treasures, silk material, rich fabrics, carpets, and above all, bags overflowing with gold and silver. It was obviously the secret hideout of a group of robbers. After Ali Baba had recovered from his astonishment, he gathered as much gold as his 3 donkeys could carry and closed the cave with the magic words. When he arrived home, he emptied his bags in front of his wife, who was dazzled by the gold. He then told her about his adventure. "We're rich," she cried, dancing and clapping her hands. "But how much exactly do we have?" "Enough to live in peace for the rest of our days," answered Ali Baba. "I want to be sure. We must count it," his wife demanded. Ali Baba did not see any reason for this, but he didn't want to upset his wife. So he let her have her way. She immediately went to Qasim to ask him for a measuring cup. Qasim's wife opened the door. "A measuring cup?" she asked, astonished. "Yes, the biggest one you have," replied Ali Baba's wife. Qasim's wife lent her the cup, but she secretly stuck some candle wax on the bottom because she wanted to know what there was to measure at the poor woodcutter's house. When Ali Baba's wife returned home, she began to scoop up the gold with the cup. She filled it once, twice, many times. A little while later, she returned the cup to her sister-in-law. But in a hurry, she did notice that there was a gold piece stuck to the bottom. When Qasim came home, his wife said, "Sit down. Sit down here. I have something to tell you." "What is it?" "Qasim, do you think you're rich?" she said. "Enough to be happy," he replied. "Well, Ali Baba is 1,000 times richer than you are," said his wife. "He has so much gold at home that he needs a measuring cup to count it." And she showed him the gold piece. Qasim, who was a bit jealous, went to his brother's house and said, "Tell me, I beg you, how do you have so much gold at your house?" Ali Baba realized his secret had been discovered, and because he loved his brother, he told him everything, including the magic words to open the door to the thieves' hideout. Qasim thanked him. Early the next morning, he set off with 10 mules to find the rock. "Open sesame," he cried when he reached it. The door opened, he went inside, and the door closed behind him. For a moment he was astonished by all the glittering treasure. Then he pulled himself together and began to fill the bags. When they were full, he tried to leave the cave, but he couldn't remember the magic words. "Open, ogre," he tried. The door stayed closed. He tried again and again. No matter what words he said, he could not think of the right one. So hours later, he was still locked in. As ill luck would have it, the thieves arrived at the cave. When they opened the magic door, Cassim took the chance to escape. He was caught immediately by the thieves, who killed him on the spot and cut him up into 4 pieces. The next day, Ali Baba came to the rock in search of his brother. To his horror, he discovered his brother's remains. Weeping with shock and grief, he put the 4 pieces that were left of his brother on the donkeys and returned home to Cassim's widow to tell her the dreadful news. Now, Cassim was a very clever servant she had a very clever servant whose name was Morgiana. "Morgiana will have to cover up the true reason for Cassim's death," said Ali Baba. "Don't worry, I know how to handle that," she replied. The next day, the servant went several times to the chemist, pretending that her master had fallen ill. Each time she asked for stronger and stronger medicines, saying he was going from bad to worse. The following day, no one was surprised, therefore, to hear that Cassim had died. Also in the city lived a very old, wise garment maker named Baba Mustafa. Morgiana asked him to come to her in secret, bringing the tools of his trade. Baba Mustafa, who was suspicious, did not agree to do so unless he was given a large sum of money. He was then blindfolded and led into Cassim's room, where Morgiana took off the blindfold and asked him to sew her poor master's body back together. Baba Mustafa did so, and after he was finished, he was blindfolded again and taken home. In this way, Cassim had a dignified funeral, and no one was the least suspicious. Ali Baba inherited his brother's house. As he liked that house better than his own, he moved in with his wife, and they lived together with Cassim's widow and Morgiana the servant. In the meantime, the 40 thieves had not forgotten the intruder in their cave. "Someone else knows our secret," said the leader. "The pile of gold is smaller. Who will go into the city and see what can be found out?" One of the thieves volunteered and left early the next morning in disguise. He soon found Baba Mustafa's shop, in which the old wise man was busy with his work. "Good man," the thief said to the old man, "how can you still see so clearly at your age?" "Eh? I can see that you are not from around here," said Baba Mustafa. "My eyes are the best in the city. Why, not long ago I sewed a dead man back together in a room much darker than this." "Go on, where was that?" asked the thief. "I don't know, I was taken there blindfolded," replied Baba Mustafa. The thief held out a couple of gold pieces. "Take me there." "I told you I was blindfolded," said Baba Mustafa. "Try to remember in which direction you were led," pressed the thief. Baba Mustafa accepted the challenge, and as he had a good memory, they soon arrived in front of Cassim's house, which was now Ali Baba's. The thief thanked Baba Mustafa, then he secretly made a cross with chalk on the door and went back into the forest. Shortly afterwards, Morgiana discovered the mark. She assumed that this mark was not a good sign, so she took a piece of chalk of the same color and drew crosses on all the other doors in the neighborhood. That night, the 40 thieves sneaked into the city. They looked for the door marked with the cross, intending to kill the people that lived there, but when they found that every door had a cross, they left in great anger. The following day, the leader decided to take things into his own hands. He too found Baba Mustafa, who led him to Ali Baba's house. The leader examined it closely, and very soon he had an idea. When he got back to the forest, he sent his men to buy some mules and 40 leather oil jars. When everything had been bought, the leader filled one of the jars with oil, leaving the others emptied. Then he ordered all his men into the empty jars, which he then sealed, leaving just a little air hole in each lid. That night he drove his strange convoy into the city. Ali Baba was enjoying the cool night air when the leader of the thieves stopped outside, pretending that he was an oil merchant bound for market the following day. He said that he had come a long distance and he was very tired. Ali Baba did not recognize him at all. "You're welcome here," Ali Baba said. "Come into my house and spend the night." The fake merchant put his jars in the courtyard under the window of the room where he'd be staying. While Ali Baba was out of earshot, the leader went to each jar and gave orders. "Can you hear me? When I throw little stones out of my window, split the vases from the top to bottom with your knives and get out. I will then tell you what to do." He went to bed early, keeping all his clothes on and ready for action. Meanwhile, Morgiana was working in the kitchen when her oil lamp suddenly went out. "Ugh, what a time to run out of oil," she cried. "Well, go to the courtyard," said Abdallah, another servant. "There's plenty of oil as long as the merchant is here." So Morgiana took a jug and went outside. When she approached the first jar, she heard, "Hey, is it time?" That voice certainly came from the jar. Morgiana, who was a quick thinker, realized the danger immediately, and she answered in a whisper, "Not yet, but soon." She went to the other jars, hearing the same question and giving the same answer until she found the oil jar. First, she lit her lamp again, then she poured the oil from the last jar into a copper pan, which she put on the stove until it boiled. Then she poured boiling oil into each jar, killing all the thieves quickly and quietly. Later, when the leader of the thieves threw the little stones out of his window, he was angry that there was no response. He went outside to wake up the thieves, but when he smelled the hot oil and leather, he thought it wiser to leave quickly. The next morning, when Ali Baba came back from the bathhouse, he was surprised to see the jars still in his courtyard. Morgiana told him to open one of them, and when he saw what it was in it, he jumped back in fright. Then the servant told him about how she had rescued him and his family. Ali Baba realized that the men in the jars must be the thieves from the cave with the magic door. As a reward, he gave Morgiana her freedom. He buried the bodies, sold the mules, and carefully hid the weapons and the leather jars. However, although the leader of the thieves had run off, he was not that far away. He longed to take his revenge on the man who had invaded his horde and destroyed his gang. In a little while, he returned to the city, rented a shop, and became a cloth merchant, calling himself Khorja Hussein. He made it his business to become very friendly with Ali Baba's son. He was extremely courteous to the young man and finally succeeded in being invited to his father's house. Ali Baba invited his son's new friend to stay for dinner, but the man refused. "Why do you refuse?" said Ali Baba, surprised. "It is because I can only eat food without salt, and this creates too much trouble for the people who invite me," said the phony merchant. "That makes no difference to me," cried Ali Baba. "I can offer you a meal without salt. Come on, I beg you. Do the honor and stay." The man then accepted. Morgiana was annoyed that she had to start all over again preparing food without salt, but she did as she was asked. She thought the guest must be a very strange man to make such a demand. Under the pretext of helping Abdallah, she served at the table so that she could have a look at the stranger. Morgiana was more perceptive than Ali Baba. She recognized the cruel leader of the thieves straight away, even though he was disguised as a cloth merchant. She saw the knife he was hiding under his clothes and devised a very bold plan. When they had eaten their dessert, she dressed herself up as a dancer with a sword fixed to her belt as if it was part of the costume. Abdallah accompanied her playing the tambourine. As if it were part of the dance, Morgiana drew the sword from its sheath. Ali Baba was delighted. He let her dance for a long time, thinking to entertain his guest, who was actually waiting for the right moment to kill him. As was the custom, when the dance was over, Abdallah took the hollow tambourine to collect some money. Ali Baba threw in 1 gold piece, and the leader of the thieves took out his pouch to find one too. While he was fumbling in his pouch, Morgiana thrust the sword deep into his heart. He died instantly. Once again, Morgiana had uncovered the evil plot of the thieves' leader, and Ali Baba was determined to reward her richly. A few days later, a magnificent feast was held to celebrate the wedding of his son and Morgiana. Ali Baba let an entire year pass by. Then, as there appeared no reason to fear further reprisals, he mounted his horse and rode to the thieves' cave. He cried out loud the words, "Open sesame." The doors opened, and Ali Baba found all the treasure as he had last seen it. Now he was the only one who knew the secret. He loaded his horse with gold and returned home. At last he called his son and told him of his adventures from beginning to end, including the magic words. And so this was how Ali Baba and his offspring passed the secret on from father to son. They lived in great splendor to the end of their days, and they were loved and honored by the entire city.